Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of
Yes, Kerry.
I'm Kerry,
And I'm Daphne.
and we are episode eight.
Episode 8,
Episode
yeah.
eight to start off 2025. Pretty exciting. Wow, it's
Yeah,
been quite a year last year, and
that it
now
was.
we're through the holidays and kicking back into a normal routine, which is I'm always fond of because usually I'm pretty well full throttle every day of the week. Um, but anyway, I'm excited. We have a really great question. What do we have?
Yeah, so this question is from Tracey. Now, Tracey has been a student on our advanced equine school.
Tracy's the subscription student.
Yes,
Yeah,
she
so she's
is. So,
ongoing.
Tracey, thank you
Yeah,
for
definitely.
that. And I'm going to go right into her question because it's pretty great.
Awesome.
So she says, "Hi, Daphne. I've just about finished the online courses. Wow, impressive. And I've loved them. Thank you, Tracey.
Yeah,
That's
thank
a
you.
nice compliment. Um, I've only got one more to go, and I believe that's our newest one, which is Mind of the Horse.
Part
That's
two. So
yeah, and
she's getting ready to do the master class.
right,
That's
right, and
awesome.
that's a great class,
Yeah, I'm excited for you to do that.
especially with the question that she has in this.
Hit me with
So,
it.
okay. And she also says, I'm really looking forward to hopefully doing a clinic with Kerry when he comes to Australia. Big plans coming in 25. We'll let you know about that, so
Mhm.
stay tuned. Um, and let's get back to her question. Can I please ask something? She says, does Kerry have any tips on how to be the bridge while on the ground? Is it that I just need to remain grounded and calm, and hopefully the horse will look for me for security? Or are there little tips and tricks from the trade? Many thanks, Tracey from Western Australia.
Well, that's a good question, Tracy. And again, thank you for being one of our ongoing students. And I'm really excited for you to be in the master class on identifying stress tolerance markers. And I think you'll get a lot from that.
Yeah,
And that does,
especially at the end of that, because
yes.
there's a worksheet that you've done up for that
Mm-hmm.
that will help her go through all the different things that she's learned, not only in that class but in some of the other courses as well.
Yeah.
And then you'll get to look at what she's
I get to
learned and
critique your observation skills that you're learning, and we'll go through it together and keep them enhanced. But for your question, building you're building a ongoing communication and relationship with your horse, and you don't have to do it in the saddle. Oftentimes, it's better to start just being present with your horse on the ground in hand, or you don't even have to be tethered to your horse with a lead line. Sometimes you can just spend time with your horse. It is the building of the foundation of that relationship. Horses have create emotional bonds with one another. They create relationships with us because it's a give and take. That communication. So what you bring to the table, always emotionally, is going to be your predecessor. It's going to precede everything physical. And on the ground, it's a great opportunity for you to learn to use your intentions and use your presence and to lead your physical actions. You don't have to touch your horse to communicate with your horse. As a matter of fact, it's better if you don't touch your horse when you're learning to build that communication. The horse is learning to communicate with you. You're learning to communicate with your horse above and beyond physical triggers and physical acts. You can be in the space. You can move around the different sensory zones as you have been learning in the Understanding Sensory Soundness module. And all these different things help you build that. And yes, understanding how your horse is clearing the space, how their sensory system is working. As you go around the horse, you begin to test the different ways that the horse is identifying stimuli in the environment, how the sensory lead changes are taking place, things like that. If you look for spots that the horse is going to naturally and inherently in a herd structure outsource to their peers to complete their puzzle, think about it like this: if a herd of horses is like a puzzle picture made up of different pieces. Every horse has a unique shape to their puzzle piece that in a good herd structure that fits together and it provides camouflage. And that's more emotional camouflage. Your primary way to help be the bridge for your horse is to help support this inherent need to provide emotional camouflage, to make them feel less isolated when they're not with their peers. So identifying when they're away from the herd, their unique puzzle piece structure of their strengths and vulnerabilities, which is what we do in an evaluation, allows you to know where you need to nurture and just be present. So nurturing is the locations where the horse is asking you for emotional support to help identify things in the environment, learning how to put the pressure points in and out of different spaces, learning to go around the horse, building that mental communication, if you will, that sensory, be a part of that, um, allows the horse to reach out to you. And that is how you begin to build the bridge and be the bridge for your horse. You don't do it um, physically first. You have to build an emotional foundation first before you do anything else. That is really how you build from the ground up. When you're building a bridge, you have to build the supports first, and this emotional support in helping your horse feel comfortable, even when they could feel a sense of exposure.
Right, but she also is asking how does she remain calm and comfortable. It's much like me when I'm around
Mm-hmm.
horses. I'm getting familiar with them. They're so big, and I'm a little timid. So that timidness that I have, I'm sure they feel. So
Well, and that's a good that's a question that is, really the biggest challenge that we have in horsemanship is, and the greatest obstacle course that we have in horsemanship is often ourselves.
right,
The mental obstacle course of navigating the different things in the environment, and it is the same thing for your horse. And the way that you navigate that, and to not allow the physical environment or the physical horse or any kind of physical obstacles or impediments get in the way, is to not think about them. And it's easier said than done, but you need to realize that you just have to remain calm. Don't pay so much attention to the space between you and your horse. Pay more attention to the space around you and your horse. Because when you pay attention, and especially when you're close to your horses, and I'm saying, 5, even 5, 6 meters away, but when you add the closer you get to your horse, we have the tendency to kind of implode our emotions, if you will, kind of centralize our intentions to this one spot. When now we just created this one spot, that can create accumulations of stress. It
mm-hmm.
can make the horse feel uncomfortable. It can make us feel uncomfortable if we're hypersensitive on one thing, right? We're not being sensitive to the environment at large. Horses, especially in the middle range of the herd structure, they need to have us take care of the outer world for them to make the inner world for them feel more comfortable. So not being so hyper focused on what your horse is doing and what you're doing with your horse. Just do it casually, but you still need to be focused out here and clear the environmental space around it. Your part of your job is to help your horse clear the space around them, emotionally clear the space around them by allowing yourself to be sensitive to the surroundings more than just what's happening here. You can check in, like your horse checks in with you, but we'll see horses. What do? We want to mimic their communication. Horses will often check in with the rider or check in with you and then bounce out. Check in, bounce out, check in, bounce out. Every time they're doing that, they're bringing their focus in, they're bringing their focus out, right? And that banter back and forth can accumulate stress. So if they check in with you, but you're already clearing the space out here. Yeah, I got this. The minor check-ins, and just free yourself up and allow yourself to be involved in the larger environment as opposed to this small spot. That's the biggest thing, is broaden your scope of uh, awareness and allow yourself to do that. Don't be hypersensitive on certain things, and do not anticipate. The hardest thing that we do, and the biggest impediment that we have in building relationships with our horses and becoming the block instead of the bridge,
Which I think I block a lot of it.
blocking is not absorbing the horse's angst and anxieties, and answering their questions. And how you end up doing that is be anticipating your own emotions. Example: every time I approach this corner of the arena, we'll just use that. My horse does this, right? So if you're in saddle, or even if you're in hand, or every time we go to this part of the trail, this is going to happen. If you're beginning to think about that,
I'm building up anxiety in myself.
right? You have your intentions are anticipatory; they're assumed intentions. We don't want to have assumed intentions, because now what we have is we are basically planting that seed that this is going to happen,
Right.
right? So now we're bringing the horse's attention in. When the horse checks in with us, we are supporting their anxiety, because, oh yes, I see, you see it too,
Right. Yeah.
as opposed to, oh, Oh well, okay, it must be okay. Begin to erase the anticipated anxieties, the assumptions, and just let every experience be a new and fresh experience, and just be ultra aware of the environment. Pay attention to what you're doing, but don't put too much emphasis on single things that have caused issues before, that you think have caused issues before.
Learn to enjoy the ride.
Yes,
Or
be instinctive. The thing is, don't overthink it. Okay, you just can't overthink it. Be instinctive.
I think that's what I do when I approach the horses with you. I'm all immediately like, oh my God, they're so big. And
What
then
if this
I,
horse turns? What if this horse does this? Yeah,
yeah,
you can't think that way.
right. So I need to go into it, like you do, just softer, look at them, read them, and just be calm. Just be
You have
calm.
to be aware of the environment, but do
Right.
not unnecessarily overreact to the environment, especially before there's any need to. Just because it happened once doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen again. And every experience should be a new experience.
And I like
Allow
the
it to
time
be.
that you left me out in the
I knew
yard,
what I was doing too.
and it was pretty crazy because you're going into a herd of horses, and I wasn't quite ready to do that with you and go in there with you. And the gate shuts and you go off. Little did I know that there was two older horses out in the
Gentlemen
yard with
horses, yes.
me, and all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, here he comes. What do I do? So I'm trying to just remain calm and kind of let him do his thing. And he comes over and he sniffs me. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm thinking, you're so big. And I'm like, okay, how do I calm down? I just turned from him. Like I just stayed focused on you and continued to film what you were doing. And then he just wandered off. And I'm like, whew, ditch that one. But
The thing of it is,
it's
you
funny.
have to, when you're working with, especially with larger animals, you have to remember that their self awareness is not predicated upon their physical size. The old adage that an elephant is scared of a mouse.
Oh, right.
That old adage, because it is the strength of their emotional, the size of their emotional strength. Their strengths and vulnerabilities as far as who they are, but what they are is big, beautiful animals, or all different sizes. Of course, we have horses of all different
But
sizes,
let
but
me let me finish. Later on, about 20 minutes later, I got used to these two horses being out there with me, and now we moved to the other side of the pasture that you were in. So I moved on the other side of the yard, and they kind of made their way over eventually. And now they like me so much that they kind of smush me in between the two of them, like they're going to rub each other. And I'm like, oh, now I'm in between. But I kind of hung out. I pat both of them, and then I just slowly moved out of them. And then they begin to what it like
groom each other.
groom, yeah, groom themselves. And I'm thinking, oh no, thank goodness I moved out. I didn't want to get groomed in the middle of it. But they were
Yeah.
cute. They were very curious. So they got to know me, and I got to be a little more comfortable with them. And really, he was a gentle giant. And he came
Hmm.
over and he tipped my hat and smelled me. And I was like, I think this is good. So I'm learning how to be around them
Just you
and
just don't want to,
stay.
anticipate negativity. The biggest thing is just, and it's a simple thing to say, but it can be a more difficult thing to do, especially if you've had certain experiences in the past where you've
Well,
been
I
thrown or something like that.
fell off, like I tried to get on and
But
overflung.
those experiences, like the S.E. Hinton book we had to read in high school, that was then, this is now.
Yeah.
And every new experience with your horse is a new opportunity to clear the slate, to start fresh. And you can't start from a fresh slate by carrying emotional baggage with you or negative anticipations. So every single time you work with your horse, mentally clean the slate, and don't anticipate the negativities or the anxieties, and don't go into it thinking we're going to try this again, but it's probably not going to work.
Mm,
You know, always be. Thing of it is, your intentions precede your physical actions, and horses communicate emotionally. That is the primary form of communication. That's subtle emotional
it's real
communication that
important then.
precedes
Yeah.
physical actions. So you want the horse to learn to anticipate and have their associated responses and their anticipated responses feeding off of your positive intentions and your clear intentions and your clear surveillance of the world, and not your anxieties, because then it turns into instead of purposeful responses, it turns into reactions. And reactions, we can't coach, train, or even argue with reactions. That communication is blocked. So
Right.
I'm
So
looking forward to speaking with you, Tracey, because
yeah. So Tracey, when you finish the Mind of the Horse module 2, I have been talking to you back and forth via email, and I told you that there is that worksheet after you finish. And for those of you who are interested in Mind of the Horse, please know that this is the first time that Kerry has done a worksheet.
mhm.
And there's a great little blurb on here that Kerry will get to grade your worksheet. Not really grade it, but look it over
begin to
and
work begin
discuss
to
it.
work with you, because and the whole thing for me was putting up and working with creating the school platform of the Institute for Advanced Equine Studies. I wanted to continue to put things up, and it takes me some time because I put a lot of time and effort into it, and I'm doing a lot of other things at the same time. So I want to provide you with the advanced equine studies materials, and getting into the masterclass now, especially with Tracey having done being a subscription student.
Mm-hmm.
You have went through everything, and now you are really poised to head into the masterclass. And what's the interesting thing is with subscription students or tuition students, you get your each month you get a access to a Zoom consultation with me where you can Q&A. We can talk about what you're doing. I can go over your horse cases with you. For ongoing students, that's part of your subscription package, is that you have basically a free consult time with me via Zoom. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Right. And then for those of you who are not a student right now, we have a Zoom scheduled January 30th, right?
Oh,
At
the
1
webinar,
p.m. Eastern Central.
I'm really excited to to kick off the webinar series, the Equine Psychology webinar series. We've been planning this and talking about this for a long time, and right now I'm deeply involved in writing my book series, A View from the Hoof. The first book is going very well. I'm super excited by it, and as I continue to build that book out and fill that first book out, I take fodder from that book, and now I'm going to creating tutorials and educationals out of the important parts of the book that we can do webinars on and kind of zone in on certain things. So this is the first of an ongoing series, and this is all about herd structure and the psychology of herd herd psychology. I'm really excited by that. So get in on the webinar, and yes, the webinar will be recorded for those of
Right.
you who can't make the time, things like that. Let us know though that you are still interested if the time doesn't
Yeah,
work for you.
definitely.
The hard thing is finding a time that works
For
for.
everybody
It's
internationally.
it's it's a
And yeah.
difficult thing because we help people all around the world. So trying to find a different times, and so this one is 1 o'clock on a Thursday Eastern time. So if that's not a good time for you, we'll record it, but we will change different times to try to accommodate people in different places.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
definitely join me for that. I'd be very excited to have you join me with that. It's my first time doing it, so you can help me
You'll
navigate
be
that. Yeah,
fabulous.
well,
You're a good speaker.
it'll be fun. So just trying to
So,
find ways to reach more people that can't attend an event,
right.
and don't have the opportunity to come see us in person and speak with me in person and bring me your horse in person in different places that
And
we go.
what's nice is you'll have the Q&A with them during the Zoom call,
Hmm.
and I enjoy that. Yeah, I enjoy
Well, I
hearing
love the
you
back
in
and
the
forth. To
moment.
me, it's all about I love to interact and speak with people and talk about different situations, because it also helps me learn too. I always learn something new and make a new discovery um, based upon everyone else's help. So it's a community. It's a community of learning, a community of growth, and that's what I like about it. So
So people are probably thinking that I'm really silly that I am with a horseman and I am not. I haven't been around horses before and I'm learning. So I love the animals. Let me be clear about that. It's just because I haven't ever really been around them in my past. I'm learning and
didn't
trying
your
to.
mother ever tell you not to marry a horseman?
Well, I always like cowboys, and but um,
Actually, it's good for me too, because it reminds me when I'm explaining things and working around the horses when off the grid, people don't see us, and you're with me because you do the filming. Um, it actually, I'm colorblind, so you live your life in color. So
mhm.
you're learning from me about how I see the world with a lack of color per se.
Right.
Now I'm learning to communicate my world to you with someone who has not had any equestrian experience, and bringing you up to speed into all this really awesome stuff in equine psychology, which completely fascinates me, obviously. So,
It
yeah,
has been an incredible journey this far, and I'm looking forward to being able to be a bridge and not a block, and get more comfortable being with them. I'm very comfortable around smaller animals. I can, be around a dog that's jumping and happy and all that all day long. Now I just have to do that and apply myself with being around the horses.
clear your mind. Don't assume. Don't assume.
Oh my goodness, Tracey, thank you for this question. It has been fabulous, and I hope that you have your answer that you're looking for. I'm sure, Kerry.
We'll continue the conversation. I did want to, one more thing that I wanted to say, sure, is that being mentally proactive is is a great way to be the bridge. Mentally proactive in a positive way. That is a great way to lay the foundation and be proactive psychologically and not just physically. You need to advance the intellectual, if you will, communication with your horses, and that communication to build that relationship and to strengthen that relationship, and that will pave the way for everything going forward for you. Oh, and before we close, for those of you who are not aware, we are the podcast, Beyond the Hoof podcast with Kerry and Daphne. We are going to be recording our first official Beyond the Hoof podcast this weekend, actually. And
yeah,
so that'll be up
our
as well.
guest is Robin, and it's exciting because Mind of the Horse has all been filmed with Robin and DJ, and Robin is coming on to let us know how she's
story,
doing,
to share her story and her
DJ,
journey.
yeah.
To share her story, to share her journey with and the DJ story, which we've been involved with now since summer of 2024, even a little bit before that, and it's been a fascinating journey. It's going to be great to have her
I'm so
on
excited,
with us
yeah,
to share that journey and hear it from her perspective and everything that she's accomplished and how far DJ has come,
right,
and they have come as a team, and how this world of equine psychology and sensory soundness has changed our lives. So I'm definitely looking forward to having her on, and that'll be strictly a podcast. So if you get a chance, visit our website and subscribe to our Beyond the Hoof podcast on Spotify.
All right. So if you have a question to ask Kerry about anything in the equine psychology world, or if you're a student and you have a question,
or if you want to ask me what my favorite color is,
yeah, right. Feel free to write in. Send that to Daphne at sensorysoundness.com, and we will see about getting it to Kerry and putting it on the air.
Bring it on here. So, well, thanks everybody, and until next time,
remember, be the bridge
and not the block.
Thank you.